My stepbrother mocked. You can't honestly believe she'd choose you over me. After I discovered he'd been texting my girlfriend behind my back, I stayed quiet. They arrived holding hands at the wedding, but when the vows began, I read their full chat history to everyone. I, 32M, never thought I'd be the kind of person to burn someone's life down in front of a crowd, but here we are. It started 3 months before my wedding. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when a notification popped up on my laptop. My girlfriend's messaging app had synced to my computer during one of our movie nights, something she'd done absent-mindedly and apparently forgotten about. I wasn't snooping. The message just appeared there, glowing on my screen at 2 in the morning while she slept beside me. It was from my stepbrother. The preview showed enough. Something about missing her, about how I didn't deserve her, about how she knew where she really belonged. My stomach dropped. I sat there in the dark, the blue light washing over my face, and I clicked into the conversation. What I found was months of messages. Hundreds of them. It started innocent enough, just friendly conversation after we'd all hung out at a family barbecue. Then it shifted. Compliments that lingered too long. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. Late-night conversations about feelings and desires and frustrations with me. My stepbrother telling her she was too good for me, too beautiful, too smart. Her eating it up, sending back heart emojis, and saying she felt the same way but didn't know what to do. I scrolled for an hour. My hands were shaking. She stirred beside me once, and I nearly dropped the laptop. The messages got worse. They'd met up twice for coffee without telling me. They'd talked about what it would be like to be together. She'd sent him photos, nothing explicit but intimate enough, the kind of pictures I thought she only sent to me. He'd told her that when we eventually broke up, he'd be waiting. She'd said maybe they didn't have to wait that long. The most recent message was from that night. He'd asked if she was still awake. She'd responded an hour before I picked up the laptop, saying she was in bed but thinking about him. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, reading and rereading, screenshotting everything methodically. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan forming. It wasn't fully realized yet, just the seed of something dark and calculated growing in my chest where my heart used to be. She woke up around 7, stretched, kissed my cheek, and asked if I wanted breakfast. I told her sure, that would be great. My voice sounded normal. I amazed myself. The next few weeks were the hardest performance of my life. I acted like nothing had changed. We went to our cake tasting appointment, and I smiled while she debated between vanilla bean and champagne flavors. We finalized the seating chart together, and I didn't say a word when she insisted my stepbrother sit at a table near the front because family was important. We addressed invitations, including his. The whole time, they kept texting. I watched the messages roll in on my laptop every night after she fell asleep. He'd gotten bolder. He told her he couldn't wait to see her in her wedding dress, that I was an idiot for not appreciating her properly, that he'd always wanted her from the moment I introduced them 3 years ago. She told him she'd made a mistake saying yes to my proposal, that she felt trapped, that she wished she'd met him first. They made plans to meet up again the week before the wedding. I documented everything. My stepbrother and I had never been close. Our parents married when I was 15 and he was 13, one of those second marriage situations that forced two families together without asking if we actually liked each other. We were civil growing up, but there was always competition. He was the athletic one, the charming one, the one who made friends easily. I was quieter, more focused on school and work. Our parents always compared us, usually in ways that made me feel lacking. He'd gotten used to winning, to being the favorite, to getting what he wanted. Apparently, that now included my fiancée. The week before the wedding, they met at a coffee shop downtown. I knew because she told me she was meeting her sister to discuss bridesmaid duties. I followed her, sat in my car across the street, and watched them through the window. They were laughing, leaning close, and when they left, he touched her lower back in a way that made my vision blur red around the edges. But I stayed calm. I took photos. I added them to my growing collection. When she came home that afternoon, she was glowing. She said her sister was so excited for the wedding, that everything was coming together perfectly. I agreed with her. I even opened a bottle of wine to celebrate. The day before the wedding, my stepbrother called me. He asked if I was nervous, if I was ready for the big commitment. His voice had this edge to it, something smug and knowing. He said marriage was serious, that I should be really sure about what I was doing, that it wasn't too late to back out if I had any doubts. I told him I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. I meant it. just not in the way he thought. The wedding day arrived with clear skies and perfect weather. Everything looked like a fairy tale. The venue was decorated exactly how she'd wanted, flowers everywhere, white and gold and elegant. Guests arrived in their finest clothes, smiling and hugging, completely unaware of what was actually about to happen. I got ready in a small room at the venue, surrounded by my actual friends who were serving as groomsmen. They kept making jokes, trying to calm my nerves, offering me drinks. I nursed one beer slowly. I needed to be sharp for this. My best friend asked if I was okay. I told him I was just taking it all in, that it was a big day. He clapped me on the shoulder and said I was marrying an amazing woman. I smiled and didn't correct him. The ceremony was scheduled for 4. At 3:30, I saw them arrive together. My stepbrother and my fiancé, walking into the venue from the parking lot, his hand clasped in hers. They separated quickly when they saw other guests, but I'd seen it. Several other people had seen it too. I watched the whispers start, saw my mother's confused face, saw my father's jaw tighten. She went to the bridal suite to finish getting ready. He found his seat near the front, just like she'd wanted. He caught my eye as I stood near the entrance greeting late arrivals. He had this little smirk on his face, this triumphant gleam. He thought he'd already won something. The ceremony began right on time. The music started, guests stood, and she walked down the aisle in her white dress. She looked beautiful. I could admit that objectively. She also looked nervous in a way that had nothing to do with normal wedding jitters. Her eyes kept darting to where my stepbrother sat, then to me, then back again. We took our places at the altar. The officiant, a family friend who'd known me since childhood, began the standard opening remarks. We'd written our own vows, both of us. She'd been working on hers for weeks, kept them secret, said she wanted them to be a surprise. Mine were a surprise too. The officiant finished his introduction and turned to me. He said it was time for the groom's vows, that I should speak from my heart. I pulled out my phone instead of the paper everyone expected. A few confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. My fiancé's face went pale. She knew. Somehow, in that instant, she knew. I told everyone I wanted to share something important before we went any further. I said that marriage was built on trust and honesty, and that I believed everyone here should know the truth about the relationship they were celebrating. My voice was steady, almost detached. I'd practiced this. Then I started reading their messages. I began with the first one from 3 months ago. The one where my stepbrother told her she looked incredible at the barbecue, that he couldn't stop thinking about her. Her response, thanking him and adding a winking emoji. The crowd was dead silent. My fiancée made a choking sound. I kept reading. I read the message where she told him I was boring in bed. The one where he said he'd show her what she was missing. The one where she said she fantasized about him. The one where he called me a placeholder, someone she was settling for. I read the messages about their coffee dates, about their plans for the future, about how they were just waiting for the right moment. My mother started crying. My father stood up, his face purple with rage, staring at my stepbrother. Other guests were pulling out their phones, some recording, some just holding them in shock. My fiancée tried to speak, to stop me, but nothing came out. She just stood there, frozen. I read the message where my stepbrother said he'd always been the better choice, that she should have picked him from the start. I read her agreement. I read their discussion about my inadequacies, my failures, everything they thought was wrong with me. Every cruel word, every betrayal, every lie. My stepbrother had tried to leave after the first few messages, but my groomsmen had quietly moved to block the exits. My best friend understood what was happening and was making sure everyone heard every single word. I read for 10 minutes straight. I showed screenshots on my phone to guests in the front rows who passed them back. I watched as my stepbrother's face went from smug to horrified to desperately pale. I watched my fiancée cry, her makeup running, her hands shaking. When I finished, I put my phone away. I told the crowd that I obviously wouldn't be getting married today, that I was sorry they'd wasted their time, but I felt they deserved to know who they'd been supporting. I thanked the people who'd actually cared about me and said I hoped they'd enjoy the reception dinner anyway, since it was already paid for. Then I walked out. My stepbrother tried to follow me, tried to explain or apologize or something. My father intercepted him, and I heard shouting start as I reached my car. My phone was already blowing up with messages. Some from confused, distant relatives, some from friends offering support, some from her trying to explain. I blocked her number. I blocked my stepbrother's number. I sat in my car in the parking lot, and let myself feel it all for the first time in 3 months. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't turn the key. My best friend found me 20 minutes later. He got in the passenger seat and didn't say anything, just sat there while I fell apart. Eventually, he drove me to his place. I stayed there for a week. The fallout was nuclear. The video of me reading their messages went viral locally. Someone had posted it online, and it spread through our entire social circle within hours. Her friends abandoned her. His friends, the ones who weren't already mine, wanted nothing to do with him. Our parents' marriage nearly imploded. My mother felt betrayed by my stepbrother. My father felt guilty for bringing him into my life, and the two of them fought constantly about whose fault it was. She tried to contact me through mutual friends. She sent long emails I deleted without reading. She showed up at my apartment once, but I'd already changed the locks and stayed with friends when I knew she might come by. She wanted to explain, to apologize, to somehow make it right. There was nothing to explain. I'd read everything I needed to know. My stepbrother left town, just packed up and moved 3 states away within 2 weeks. He couldn't handle the shame, the way people looked at him, the way our parents couldn't even stand to see his face. Last I heard, he was living alone and had trouble making new friends because our story had somehow followed him online. The venue let me cancel without penalty given the circumstances. Most vendors refunded deposits. The few who didn't were worth the loss for what I'd gained. I kept all the gifts that had arrived early and gave them to charity. I wanted nothing that reminded me of what almost happened. Work was awkward for a while. Everyone had seen the video or heard the story. But my boss was supportive, gave me time off, and eventually people stopped bringing it up. My real friends rallied around me. They took me out, kept me busy, reminded me that not everyone was a backstabbing liar. It's been 6 months now. I'm doing better. I moved to a new apartment across town, somewhere neither of them knows about. I started therapy to work through the trust issues and the anger. I've been on a few dates, nothing serious, just testing the waters. It's hard to open up to people now. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the betrayal I know must be coming. My relationship with my parents is complicated. My mother apologized 1,000 times for my stepbrother, even though it wasn't her fault. My father barely speaks to his stepson anymore and carries guilt like a weight on his shoulders. They're trying to work through it, but some damage doesn't heal cleanly. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. If humiliating them publicly was too cruel, too calculated, too much. Then I remember sitting in the dark, reading those messages, feeling my entire future crumble. I remember the mockery in my stepbrother's voice when he called me the day before, so certain he'd won. I remember her lying to my face every single day for months. No, I don't think I went too far. I think I gave them exactly what they deserved. The wedding that never happened became a story people tell, a cautionary tale about honesty and consequences. I'm fine with being the villain in their version of events, the crazy ex who couldn't handle a little emotional confusion. Everyone who was there, everyone who saw those messages, they know the truth. I stayed quiet when I found out. I played the long game. And when the moment came, when they stood there thinking they'd gotten away with it, I made sure everyone knew exactly who they really were. Some people have asked if I feel guilty, if I regret the public nature of what I did. The answer is no. They made their choices in private, thinking no one would ever know. I just brought those choices into the light. If they're ashamed of what people saw, maybe they should have been ashamed of what they did in the first place. I'm rebuilding now. Slowly. Some days are harder than others. But I'm not the naive person who almost married someone capable of that level of deception. I'm stronger now, more careful, more aware of what people are really capable of when they think they won't get caught. My stepbrother mocked me. He said she'd choose him over me. He was probably right about that. But he made the mistake of thinking that meant he'd won, that I was too weak or too stupid to do anything about it. He learned differently. They both did. And everyone at that wedding, everyone who was supposed to celebrate our union, they learned something too. They learned exactly what happens when you betray someone who's patient enough to wait for the perfect moment to strike back. The truth came out during what should have been our vows. Seems fitting, really. They promised things to each other in those messages. I just made sure everyone heard those promises out loud. I walked away from that altar with nothing but my dignity and my revenge. Turns out, that was more than enough. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.